Hello, and welcome to my break-even analysis presentation. I have made my own example for this presentation. Example: Vince lives with his parents and buys and sells broccoli. He charges $15 each bag of pepperoni. Each bag of pepperoni costs $7.50. And Vince also needs to set aside $200 for his personal profit. There will be two equations to solve. An equation that relates the first and second dots. On the left is the first dot point equation, and on the right is the second, and will reflect the number of bags of broccoli that were purchased. Therefore, N will be the first row in the top row. The second equation will also have the same result because they both represent the same number, the bags of broccoli. The bottom row will be a little bit different. It is said to represent the weekly income received from the selling the bag of broccoli as I. So we will put I on the equation 1. For equation 2, we're talking about costs. Costs is C, so we'll put C on equation 2. We need to consider what value to start with right now. I began with 0 to see what would happen if I didn't sell any broccoli at all, then moved up to 1 and 2 to make it easier, and then 50 to see what would happen if I sold 50 bags of pepperoni. For equation 1, we obtained $15 for each bag of sold pepperoni, so I get $0 if I sell no pepperoni. For one pepperoni, I receive $15. $30 is what I receive for 2 pepperoni. Now, if I sell 50 pepperoni at a price of $15 each, I will make $750. Let's look at equation 2, which deals with costs. I pay $7.50 for each bag of pepperoni that is produced. Now, even if I decide not to purchase any pepperoni, I still need to set aside $200 per profit. We'll start there. Then, our expenses is $200. Even if I only buy one bag of pepperoni, the cost is only $7.50, but I still need to include in the $200 in costs. We then enter $207.50 and $215. And if I purchase 50 pepperoni bags for $7.50 and add 200, that comes to $575. Now, I need to come up with two equations, so I'll use the gradient intercept formula. Y equals mx plus b. I'm going to do this for both equations. For equation 1, we see that when n is 0, I becomes 0, which goes in place in b. B becomes 0. We'll copy down the x, and we'll copy down the y. M is our gradient, and all we need to figure out is how much is I going up by. So at the second row, which is I, it starts with 0, then 15, then it goes to 30. Now we know it goes up by 15, and that's the gradient. We also need to replace y and x, so x is the top row and y is the bottom row. So in this case, x is n, y is I. So I'm going to replace x with n, replace y with an I. And I don't really need to put the plus 0 in. Now let's move on to costs, or equation 2. C equals 200 is going to be the base, which is b. We're going to copy the x and y and plus. M is the gradient, so the same thing again. See how much the second row is going up by. In this case is 7.5, so that's gonna be the gradient, which is m. And we have to replace y and x, so y is gonna be c and x will be n. So we have two equations now. Now we have to graph them on the same number plane. We will label our axis and choose n as the horizontal axis. Additionally, we depict two distinct items on the vertical axis. It will depict both our costs and income. On equation 1, we see we got 0 and 0, so we mark that on the graph. And then we skip to the end, and where the income is 750 and n is 50, and we mark that on the graph as well. Now we'll look at the equation 2, the blue mark. N is 0 and cost is 200. We mark that as well. And then we skip through the end. N is 50 and cost is 575. We mark that as well. As you can see, the break even is at 28.5 and just in between 450 and 375. So if I sell more than 29 pepperoni, I will be making just how much I budgeted my profit on a weekly basis. So in that case, I will be making more profit if I sell 50 pepperonis in one day.